Stop, those numbers are fake. Maya's voice echoed through the silent conference room as she burst through the double doors, her waitress uniform still on, her hair messy from running. 20 pairs of eyes turned to stare at her. Security guards immediately moved toward her, their hands reaching for her arms. At the front of the room, Richard Chen stood frozen at the podium, his face draining of color like someone had just ripped his soul out. "Get her out of here," Richard shouted, his voice cracking with panic. "She's crazy, she's—" "Wait!" An older woman in an expensive gray suit stood up from the front row. Her voice was calm but commanding. "Let her speak." Maya's hands were shaking so hard she nearly dropped her phone. She held it up like a weapon. "I have proof. I have recordings. Everything he's showing you is a lie." She pressed play. Richard's voice filled the room, crystal clear. "I'll give you $50,000 right now for your silence. Just forget what you saw." The room erupted. Investors jumped to their feet, shouting questions. Richard's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Security guards looked confused, not sure who to grab anymore. The gray-suited woman raised her hand, and the chaos died down. She looked at Maya with sharp, intelligent eyes. "Young lady, what's your name?" "Maya Torres," Maya whispered, her voice barely working. "I'm Margaret Liu, lead investor. You just interrupted a $200 million pitch." Margaret's expression didn't change. "This better be good." Maya's legs felt like jelly, but she forced herself to walk forward. "It's better than good. It's the truth." Welcome to Wakkie Storytime TV, where real-life drama, dark twists, emotional betrayals, and unbelievable moments come to life through powerful storytelling. Please do well to subscribe, watch till the end, and drop a comment after you're done. Thank you. But let me take you back 24 hours. That's when this whole nightmare started. I'm Maya Torres. I'm 28 years old. I have a business degree from State University, and I work as a waitress at the Grand Plaza Hotel restaurant because life didn't go the way I planned. My alarm went off at 5 in the morning like it did every morning. My apartment was tiny, barely bigger than a closet. On my kitchen counter sat a pile of bills with red stamps that screamed final notice in angry letters. Student loans, medical debt from my mom's cancer treatment. Rent kept going up while my paycheck stayed the same. I pulled on my black waitress uniform and looked in the mirror. "Smile, Maya," I told myself. "Fake it till you make it." That's what I did every single day. I smiled at customers who snapped their fingers at me. I smiled when they complained their water wasn't cold enough. I smiled when my manager told me I was too slow, too distracted, not trying hard enough. After 200 job applications with my business degree, I'd stopped counting the rejections. Not enough experience. Overqualified. We've decided to go with another candidate. The emails all said different things, but they meant the same thing. You're not good enough. So I carried plates and refilled coffee and watched through the restaurant windows as people in expensive suits made deals that would change their lives. People who probably weren't smarter than me, just luckier. "Maya, table 7 still doesn't have water." My manager's voice cut through my thoughts. Sorry. I grabbed a pitcher and rushed over. It was 11 at night when everything changed. The restaurant was almost empty, just a few stragglers finishing dessert. I was exhausted, my feet screaming, counting down the minutes until I could go home. That's when he walked in. Richard Chen looked like every other businessman who came through our doors. Expensive suit, designer watch, the kind of confident walk that said he owned whatever room he entered. But something was different about him tonight. His tie was loose, his hair was messy, and he was typing on his laptop like his life depended on it. "Just coffee," he said without looking up when I approached his table. "Sure thing." I brought him a cup and he didn't even acknowledge me. His fingers flew across the keyboard, his eyes locked on the screen with an intensity that made me curious despite myself. I was refilling his cup 20 minutes later when another server rushed past me, bumping my elbow hard. The coffee pitcher tilted. Hot liquid splashed across the table, across Richard's laptop, across his expensive suit. For one frozen second, nobody moved. Then Richard's laptop screen flickered. sparked, went black. No, Richard shot to his feet so fast his chair crashed backward. No, 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 no. He grabbed the laptop, shaking it, pressing buttons frantically. Nothing happened. The screen stayed dead, black, empty. What did you do? He whirled on me, his face red with fury. Do you have any idea what you just did? Other customers were staring now. My manager came running over, his face panicked. Sir, I'm so sorry. We'll comp your meal. We'll pay for any damages. The investor meeting is in 8 hours. Richard's voice was rising, losing control. Everything is on that laptop, my entire presentation. The backup drive was in my car and someone stole my briefcase. He tried turning the laptop on again. Dead, completely dead. Your server just destroyed my company, Richard said, his voice dropping to something cold and dangerous. I'm going to sue this restaurant. I'm going to sue her personally. Do you understand? This was worth $200 million. My heart was hammering, but something in me stayed calm. Maybe it was years of dealing with angry customers. Maybe it was the look of genuine panic in his eyes. Sir, I said quietly, let me look at it. Richard turned to me like I'd just suggested flying to the moon. You're a waitress. What are you possibly going to? I have a degree in business analytics. I cut him off. And I built my own computer when I was 16. Let me help. Richard stared at me like he was trying to decide if I was serious or insane. His jaw clenched. His eyes darted between me and the dead laptop. Then he looked at his watch. You have 10 minutes, he said finally. If you can't fix it, I'm calling my lawyers. I took the laptop to the kitchen. My coworkers watched me like I'd lost my mind. Maya, what are you doing? Someone whispered. Hopefully saving my job, I muttered back. I grabbed a bag of rice from the pantry, asked the cook for his compressed air can, and set up a portable fan. My hands moved on autopilot, doing what I'd done 100 times with my own beat-up electronics. Outside the kitchen, I could hear Richard packing. How much longer? He kept asking every 2 minutes. Patience, I called back. After 8 minutes, I pressed the power button. The laptop hummed. The screen flickered to life. Yes, I whispered. But my celebration died fast. Error messages filled the screen. File corrupted, cannot open, data lost. My stomach dropped. I'd gotten the laptop working, but the files were destroyed. Richard appeared in the kitchen doorway. He saw my face and his shoulders sagged. It's gone, isn't it? The files are corrupted, I admitted, but maybe not completely gone. I pulled out my phone and connected a cable I kept in my bag. I'm going to try something. What? Data recovery. If fragments of the files are still there, I can rebuild them. Richard's eyes widened. You can do that. I learned after my own laptop died with my thesis on it. I was already running the recovery software. No promises, but I'll try. For the next 20 minutes, I worked in silence. Richard watched over my shoulder, not saying a word. Files started appearing on the screen, piece by piece, like a puzzle putting itself together. It's working, Richard breathed. You're actually doing it. I transferred everything to the cloud as backup, then started opening files to check them. Let me make sure the presentation itself isn't corrupted. That's when I saw it. The presentation opened perfectly. Beautiful slides, professional graphics, financial projections that looked incredible. Chen Technologies, $500 million in projected revenue, 200% growth, revolutionary AI technology that would change everything. But then another window popped up behind it, a folder that must have auto-opened during the recovery. The folder name made my blood run cold. Real Financials Duenote share. My finger hesitated over the trackpad. I shouldn't look. This was private. None of my business. But something made me click. The screen is filled with spreadsheets, real numbers, actual data. 15 million in revenue, not 500 million. The company was losing money every quarter. The AI technology didn't work like the presentation claimed. There were pending lawsuits from former employees. Product demos that turned out to be fake, photoshopped to look functional. I scrolled down, my hands starting to shake. An email chain. Investors won't fund us with real numbers. We need to be more aggressive with projections. Another email. Make sure the real financials stay internal. Only show the growth deck. My stomach twisted into knots. What's wrong? Richard's voice came from behind me, sharp and sudden. I jumped, nearly dropping the laptop. I turned slowly to face him. Mr. Chen, I said carefully, what exactly does your company do? His eyes flicked to the screen. He saw what I was looking at. His entire face changed in an instant, from hopeful to hard. Those are confidential files. His voice was ice. You shouldn't have opened them. These numbers, I said, my voice shaking now. They're not just optimistic projections. They're completely different from your presentation. You don't understand how venture capital works. Richard stepped closer, and suddenly the kitchen felt very small. I understand fraud when I see it. The words came out before I could stop them. Silence crashed between us like a physical thing. The kitchen staff had gone quiet, sensing something wrong. Richard's expression shifted again. The anger drained away, replaced by something calculating, something dangerous. Maya, he said my name slowly, reading it off my name tag. That's a pretty name. You seem like a smart woman. Don't, I stepped back. A smart woman in a bad situation, he continued, ignoring me. Working a job you're overqualified for, probably drowning in debt. Student loans, medical bills. How did he know? My face must have given it away because he smiled. Not a nice smile. I can change your situation, Richard said softly. Help me and I'll help you. It's that simple. Help you lie to investors. My voice came out stronger than I felt. Help me succeed. He pulled out his wallet, thick with cards and cash, pulled out a business card and set it on the counter. Chen Technologies, CEO, I'm worth $50 million on paper. Tomorrow, after this meeting, I'll be worth $250 million. He pulled out a checkbook, actually wrote a check right there in the kitchen, held it up so I could see the number. $50,000. My vision blurred. That was more money than I made in an entire year of double shifts and sore feet. That was every bill on my counter paid off. That was freedom from the collection calls and final notices and constant fear. Just finish fixing the presentation, Richard said quietly. Use the numbers from the investor deck. Forget what you saw in those other files. I stared at the check. My hands were trembling. And it's not just the money, he continued. I'll give you a job, executive assistant, $120,000 a year, full benefits, stock options. Think about it, Maya. Tomorrow you wake up debt-free with a six-figure career. He let that sink in for a moment. Or, his voice dropped lower, you walk away, stay a waitress, keep struggling, keep wondering what if. He held out the check. I need an answer in 5 minutes, he said. The clock is ticking. I stared at that check like it was a snake ready to bite me. $50,000, life-changing money, freedom money. I need to use the bathroom, I managed to say. Richard nodded. 5 minutes, Maya, that's all you get. I practically ran to the bathroom, locked the door, and leaned against the sink. My reflection stared back at me in the mirror. Dark circles under my eyes, hair falling out of its ponytail, the uniform that smelled like grease and coffee. This could all be over tomorrow. No more struggling, no more bills, no more watching life pass me by through restaurant windows. But then I closed my eyes, and I saw her. My mom, in that hospital bed 3 years ago, thin and tired and fighting so hard to stay alive. We regret to inform you that the experimental treatment is not covered by your insurance policy. The letter had been so polite, so professional, so final. Mom, there has to be something we can do, I'd begged. She'd taken my hand, squeezed it with what little strength she had left. Baby, don't be angry at them. Don't let this make you hard. Just promise me you'll be better than they are. I promise, I'd whispered. 2 weeks later, she was gone. And I was left with $60,000 in medical debt and a promise I didn't know how to keep. I opened my eyes. splashed cold water on my face. The people who wrote that insurance denial, they were just doing their jobs too, right? Just following the rules, just making the profitable choice. My mom died because people chose profit over people, because lying was easier than telling the truth, because $50,000 or $5 million or $500 million was more important than doing what's right. I thought about Richard's investors. People who would give him $200 million based on lies. They'd lose everything when the company collapsed, and it would collapse. Fraud always falls apart eventually. I thought about the employees who'd lose their jobs, the other victims who'd get hurt along the way. I looked at my reflection one more time. What kind of person do you want to be, Maya? I already knew the answer. I'd always known. I walked back out to the kitchen. Richard was waiting, check still in his hand, confident smile on his face. So, he said, do we have a deal? I'll fix your presentation, I said. His smile widened. He started to hand me the check. Using the real numbers. The smile vanished like I'd slapped it off his face. Excuse me. I'll help you present the truth to those investors, I said, my voice steadier now. Not the fraud, the actual facts about your company. That wasn't the deal, his voice went. There was no deal. You're going to be honest with those people, or I'm going to tell them myself. Richard stepped very close to me, close enough that I could smell his expensive cologne, close enough to be intimidating. You have no idea what you're doing, he said quietly. No idea who you're messing with. Then tell me. I stood my ground even though my knees felt weak. I have lawyers who will bury you. I will sue you for theft, for breach of confidentiality, for industrial espionage. Each word was like a hammer. By the time I'm done, you won't just be broke, you'll be destroyed, ruined, you'll wish you were just poor. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it might explode. But I slipped my hand into my pocket and pressed record on my phone. Is that a threat, Mr. Chen? It's a promise. He didn't even notice what I was doing. I will make your life hell. Do you understand me? Give me that laptop right now. We stood there, locked in a staring contest. The kitchen had gone completely silent. Everyone was watching. Fine, I said finally. Take it. I handed him the laptop. Richard snatched it out of my hands, his face twisted with anger. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. He stormed out of the kitchen without another word. I heard the restaurant door slam a minute later. My manager rushed over. Maya, what just happened? Are we getting sued? I don't know, I said honestly. My whole body was shaking now that the adrenaline was fatting. But Richard didn't know something. While I was recovering his files, I'd uploaded everything to my personal cloud account. Every file, every spreadsheet, every incriminating email. And I had a recording of him trying to bribe me and threatening to destroy my life. I clocked out, told my manager I was sick, and went home. My tiny apartment had never felt smaller. I made instant ramen because it was all I could afford and opened my laptop. Then I got to work. I spent the entire night building a case. Side-by-side comparisons of Richard's fake presentation versus the real financials. A timeline of his company's actual history. Copies of the internal emails. The recording of our conversation. At 6 a.m, I found what I was looking for. The investor meeting location. Grand Plaza Hotel, 3rd floor conference center. The same building where I worked. 8 o'clock, 2 hours away. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror again. I had on my only business outfit, a black pantsuit I'd worn to job interviews. It was wrinkled and outdated, but it was all I had. Mom, I whispered to the empty apartment, I hope I'm doing the right thing. I grabbed my phone, my evidence files, and headed out the door. The hotel was already busy when I arrived. Business people everywhere, heading to meetings and conferences. I tried to look like I belonged. The elevator bank had a security guard checking names against a list. Name, he asked when I approached. I'm with the catering, I tried. He looked me up and down. Catering came through service entrance an hour ago. Sorry, miss. My heart sank. I stepped aside, trying to think. How was I going to get up there? Then I saw my manager walking past, heading toward the restaurant. I ducked behind a pillar, waiting. The security guard was distracted by a large group checking in. Now or never. I slipped past him and into the stairwell. Climbed to the third floor, my heart racing with every step. Conference room C, I found it at the end of the hallway. Through the small window in the door, I could see them. 20 investors sitting around a massive table. And at the front, looking polished and confident and completely calm, was Richard Chen. His presentation was already on the screen behind him, those beautiful fake numbers glowing for everyone to see. "Ladies and gentlemen," Richard's voice carried through the door, smooth as silk. "What you're about to see will change everything you know about artificial intelligence." He clicked to the next slide. 500 million in projected revenue. The lie glowed on the screen in bright blue letters. "These projections are actually conservative," Richard continued. "We're being modest with our estimates." An older woman in the front row leaned forward. Gray suit, sharp eyes, expensive jewelry. "Mr. Chen, these growth numbers seem extremely aggressive. How confident are you in these projections?" Richard smiled. That same confident smile he'd given me in the kitchen. "Margaret, I stake my reputation on these numbers. Chen Technologies is going to revolutionize the industry." Margaret, that had to be Margaret Liu, the lead investor he'd mentioned. I watched through the window as the other investors nodded, impressed. They were buying it, every word, every lie. My hand was on the door handle, sweating, shaking. What was I doing? I was a waitress about to accuse a CEO of fraud in front of millionaires. They'd throw me out, probably arrest me. Richard would sue me into oblivion like he'd promised. I thought about turning around, walking away, forgetting this ever happened. Then I heard my mom's voice in my head. "Be better than they are." I pushed open the door. "Stop," my voice came out louder than I expected. "Those numbers are fake." Every head in the room turned toward me. Richard's face went white as a sheet. For a second, nobody moved. Then security guards appeared from somewhere, grabbing my arms. "Get her out of here," Richard shouted, his voice cracking with panic. "She's insane. She's a stalker." "Wait," Margaret Liu stood up, holding up one hand. The security guards froze. "Let her speak." "Margaret, she's nobody," Richard said desperately. "She's just a disgruntled." I said let her speak. Margaret's voice was quiet, but it cut through everything. She looked at me. "Who are you?" "Maya Torres." I could barely breathe. "I'm a waitress downstairs. Last night I fixed Mr. Chen's laptop after it got damaged. I saw his real files." She stole confidential information. Richard tried again. "Did you?" Margaret asked me. "I have proof." I held up my phone with shaking hands. "I have his real financial statements. I have emails. I have a recording of him trying to bribe me to stay quiet." The room exploded with noise. Investors talking over each other. Richard trying to shout explanations. Margaret raised her hand again. Silence fell. "Play the recording," she said. My fingers fumbled with my phone. For a horrible second I thought I'd deleted it by accident. Then I found it, pressed play. Richard's voice filled the conference room, crystal clear. "I'll give you $50,000 right now for your silence. Just finish fixing the presentation. Forget what you saw." My voice responded. "Help you lie to investors." Richard's voice again. "I have lawyers who will bury you. I will sue you for theft, for breach of confidentiality, for industrial espionage. By the time I'm done, you'll be destroyed." The recording ended. Silence crashed down like a wave. "That's out of context." Richard's face was red now, desperate. "She's twisting my words." "I can show you the real files," I said. I looked around the room until I spotted the wireless display controller. Thank God it was the same system the hotel used everywhere. I'd set up dozens of these for corporate events. I connected my phone. A few taps and my screen appeared on the projector behind Richard. Side by side, Richard's fake presentation on the left, The real financials on the right. Projected revenue, 500 million. Real revenue, 15 million. Projected growth, 200%. Real growth, negative 40%. Revolutionary AI technology, fully functional. Reality, doesn't work, multiple failed DMOS pending lawsuits. The investors leaned forward, squinting at the screen, comparing the numbers. The evidence was right there in front of them. "These files have your company metadata, Mr. Chen," Margaret said, her voice ice cold now. "Time stamps from yesterday, your laptop, your documents." She manipulated them. Richard was losing it now, his voice rising. "She's trying to sabotage me, she's..." "Why would a waitress sabotage your company?" Another investor cut in. "What would she gain?" Richard's mouth opened and closed. He had no answer. "Security," Margaret said calmly. "Escort Mr. Chen out, we're done here." Two security guards moved toward Richard this time. His face went through shock, rage, denial, and finally defeat. "You have no idea what you've done," he said to me as they led him past. "You've ruined everything." "No," I said quietly. "You did that yourself." They took him out. The door closed. 20 investors stared at me. I'd just destroyed a $200 million deal, exposed a CEO as a fraud, probably got myself sued. My legs started shaking so hard, I had to lean against the wall. Margaret walked over to me. Up close, she was even more intimidating. She studied my face for a long moment. Then she held out her business card. "That took courage," she said. "What's your full name?" "Maya Torres." "Maya Torres." She pressed the card into my hand. "You just saved my firm $200 million. Call me." Then she turned to the other investors. "Meeting adjourned. I suggest we all review our due diligence processes." I stumbled out of the conference room in a daze. Made it to the stairwell before my legs gave out completely. I sat on the steps, shaking, replaying everything that just happened. Within 48 hours, the story was everywhere. Tech CEO exposed in massive fraud scheme. Waitress whistleblower stops $200 M-Con. My phone exploded with calls from reporters, lawyers, people I'd never met. Richard Chen was arrested on TV, handcuffed and pushed into a police car. Chen Technologies collapsed. 400 employees lost their jobs. And me, I got fired from the restaurant. Too much publicity, bad for business. The online harassment started immediately. She ruined 400 lives. Attention seeker. Should have minded her own business. My landlord gave me 30 days to move out. The media attention is disturbing other tenants. I sat in my empty apartment eating ramen, wondering if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. I'd done the right thing, so why did it feel like I'd lost everything? 3 months passed. I found work at a cheaper diner across town. Lower pay, longer hours, same struggles. I was wiping down tables when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello. Maya Torres, this is Margaret Liu. We met at the Chen disaster." My heart jumped. I remember. "I have a proposition for you. My firm needs a fraud analyst, someone who can spot deception and has the courage to act on it." I dropped my cleaning rag. "What?" $150,000 a year, signing bonus to cover your debts, full benefits. When can you start? I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. "Maya, you still there?" "This isn't a joke," I finally managed. "I don't joke about talent, so when can you start?" 6 months later, I sat in my new office. My own desk, my own nameplate, analyzing financial documents for Margaret's firm, marking discrepancies, catching lies. Through my window, I could see the cafe downstairs. A young waitress was clearing tables, looking tired and defeated. I remembered being her. People asked if I regretted it, turning down $50,000, losing everything. But I didn't lose everything. I lost money, I lost comfort, I lost the easy path. What I found was something you can't buy: integrity, purpose, self-respect. My phone buzzed. New case file. Another company with numbers that didn't add up. I smiled and got to work. Sometimes the right choice costs you everything, but it pays you back in ways money never could. If this story inspired you, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us what you would have done in Maya's situation. Would you have taken the 50,000 or exposed the truth? And don't forget to like this video to help more people find these real-life stories. Thanks for watching Wakkie Storytime TV, and remember, your integrity is worth more than any paycheck.